Good morning, everyone. There we go. Good morning. The October 4th, 2023 meeting of the Board of Estimates is now called to order. As the board continues to meet in this hybrid fashion, we'll ask all folks who are in the room today to ensure that your electronic devices are turned off or at a minimum turned on silent so you don't disrupt today's proceedings. For those who are online with us, if it is an opportunity for you to speak, we'll ask, once we unmute you, for you to state your name, your organization that you're dialed in from, and proceed with your testimony. At this time, I'll ask our amazing clerk, Ms. Celeste Amato, for any corrections, additions, and noted abstentions to today's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, everyone. We have the following notes for this morning's meeting. In the absence of Acting City Solicitor Ebony Thompson, Deputy City Solicitor Stephen Salisbury will sit in and vote on her behalf. We have the following changes and corrections to note this morning. We have a correction to SB 2313485, Department of Law, and subject lines, strike Lee Dotson and insert Charles Kunikin. In action requested, strike Lee Dotson and insert Charles Kunikin. A correction to SB 2313664, Department of Law, and subject lines, strike Charles Kunikin and insert Lee Dotson, and in action requested, strike Charles Kunikin and insert Lee Dotson. And one additional correction, SB 13246. This is an agreement between MOHS and the Time Organization. On line 3, under background explanation, please strike 30 and replace with 17 so that it reads 117. We have no protests to note this morning. Pardon me. We have the following deferrals to note. SB 13314, Department of Recreation and Parks, proposals and specifications, notice of letting. This item is being deferred to October 18th, 2023 at the request of the agency. And SB 12731, emergency procurement resolution. This item is being deferred at the request of the mayor's office till October 18th, 2023. The following items are on the non-routine agenda today. SB 13538, Department of Audits, Agreed Upon Procedures Report. SB 13090, Department of Audits Biennial Performance Audit. SB 12731, Office of the Comptroller, Administrative Other Resolution, Emergency Procurement. SB 13664, Department of Law, Settlement Agreement and Release. SB 13485, Department of Law, Settlement Agreement and Release. SB 12901, Parking Authority, Emergency Procurement. SB 13169, Bureau of Procurement, Sole Source 8000, Unite Us Platform. 12636, MOCFS, Transfer of Funds to Baltimore Civic Fund. And moving to the routine agenda this morning is SB 13385, Department of Public Works, Construction Award, Water Contract Number 1367, Old Goucher Water Main Replacements. We have the following abstentions to note this morning. The Honorable Mayor Brandon Scott is abstaining on items SB 12075, Health Department, Ratification, Johns Hopkins University, Be More for Healthy Babies. SB 12262, Health Department, Johns Hopkins University, Bloomberg School, SPARC Program. SB 1212448, Health Department Agreement, Johns Hopkins University, Ratification. The Honorable President Nick Mosby is abstaining on SB 13562, Governmental Charitable Solicitation Council, President Nick Mosby's third annual holiday toy drive. The Honorable Comptroller Bill Henry is abstaining on the following items. All travel requests, in fact, I think it's safe for me to just say that, all travel requests on the routine agenda, the Comptroller is abstaining on those items. He is also abstaining on item SB 13515, Human Resources Personnel Employment Contract. Deputy City Solicitor Stephen Salisbury is abstaining on SB 2313443 travel request, and also on travel requests SB 2313433 and SB 2313444. And Deputy Director of Public Works Richard Luna is abstaining on SB 2313515 DPW employment contract for Jason Mitchell. We have the following no votes on routine agenda items to note this morning. The Honorable President Nick Mosby is voting no on SB 2313378, Fire Department, Baltimore City, fiscal year 21 EMPG ARPA grant adjustment notice. He is voting no on SB 2313049, DHCD, approval of grant agreement with Rebuild Metro, Inc., and on SB 2313260, MOED, ARPA grant agreement award to Baltimore City Civic Fund for rideshare program. The Honorable Comptroller Bill Henry is voting no on the following items on the routine agenda: SB 2313370, Environmental Control Board transfer to Civic Fund, and on SB 2312636, Mayor's Office of Children and Family Services transfer to Civic Fund. That concludes our notes for this morning, Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve and adopt the opening statement read by our clerk.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The opening statement has been adopted. I now would like to direct the board's attention to a memorandum from my office dated October the 2nd, 2023, identifying matters to be considered as routine agenda items, together with any corrections, additions, abstentions, and no votes that have been noted by our amazing clerk. I will entertain a motion to approve all items contained on the routine agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The routine agenda has been adopted. On our first item of business this morning from the non-routine agenda, it can be found on page 6, SB 2313538, Department of Audits report. The audits are for the procedures for the Mary Lane 911 emergency system receipts and expenditures for fiscal year ending June 2022. The board requested to note receipt of the audit report at this time. Mr. Auditor, Josh Pash, if you could come and present.
Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Comptroller, honorable members of the board. My name is Josh Pash. I'm the City Auditor, and I'm to present the agreed-upon procedures for the 911 fees and expenditures for fiscal year 2022. I'll wait for the slides to come up. Casey.
For those folks not in the room, we're working to bring the audit presentation up. And here we go. Mr. Auditor.
Go to the next slide, please. So I will go through our audit objective and scope, the results of the agreed-upon procedures, and some additional observations that we made. Next slide, please. So our audit objective, agreed-upon procedures objective, was to evaluate the Baltimore City's compliance with the Public Safety Article 1, Section 301 to 313 of the Maryland Code related to the actual receipts and expenditures of the 911 Trust Fund, Baltimore City, as reported in the actual receipts and expenditure report, and then we covered the fiscal year 22. Basically, the state provides funding for 911 programs, and we are asked to confirm the report prepared by the 911 that shows revenue and expenditures, and basically the goal is to show that we spent more on the 911 program than the state gave us funds for. Next slide, please. So the procedures we did is we confirmed revenues. We confirmed them by confirming with the state, and then we also traced them to the general ledger. The confirmation of the state did not have any exceptions. When we traced them to the general ledger, the report did not include $1.7 million of wireless and wireline revenue that was sent by the state. This amount could not be found in the city's Baltimore general ledger, and as a consequence did not make it to the report. We also looked at the expenses for salaries, overtime, sick and other leave. Basically, we agreed those amounts to workday. We did note that the amount reported for salaries was understated by compensation or comp leave and permission leave. We also looked at other expenditures for telephone supplies and equipment, and we agreed those to workday, the general ledger system, and did not find any exceptions. A point to note is the Maryland Code permits allowing the expenditures for call takers, dispatchers, and support to be included in the report for fire and police dispatchers. The fire department identified approximately $6.9 million and $7.7 million. Those are unaudited numbers that were not included in the report. Basically, those are allowed to be reported, and the fire department has chosen not to report those because they would not affect the amount that the state pays the city. But we did want to note that those are allowable to be included in the report. During our procedures, we noted the following that we believe should be brought to management's attention. Other observations that we reported was for revenues, the report did not include $1.7 million, as I mentioned earlier. As of the date of this report, the city could not locate this amount in the general ledger. We are not aware if it was posted incorrectly or not at all. It couldn't be found. Our recommendations is for the 911 to monitor that revenue account was posted there and compare them to the expected payments by the state. So the state identifies how much they paid the city and do that comparison to make sure that that's being posted to the revenue account, and then if it's not, go look for it and make sure that gets posted correctly. If this is done timely, it'll be more likely that the money will be found and posted correctly. We also recommended that they establish protocols with BAPS to basically facilitate the correct posting of those 911 receipts. We also identified $315,000 in telephone expenditures that were not included in the original report. We brought to the attention of management, and they corrected the report. Thus, it's not an exception to agreed upon procedures. However, it's being noted as an issue with the process and the controls. Our recommendation is to generate and review periodic reports to monitor those expenditures that are recorded in 911 telephone expenditure account in the general ledger for accuracy and completeness. That can be done either by an analytical or by reviewing those, and then to establish protocols with Department of Telecommunications to facilitate the correct posting of those telephone expenditures and a way to evaluate the accuracy of those invoices. And that concludes my presentation. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Arter. At this time, are there any questions or concerns from members of the body? Hearing and seeing none, this report will be noted. Next up, Mr. Auditor, let me read it in first. The next item on non-routine agenda can be found on page 7, SB 23-13090, Department of Audits, Audit Report. Audits are for the biannual performance audit of the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Services for fiscal years ending June 30th, 2022 and June 30th, 2021. The board is request note receipt of this report, and at this time, our auditor will provide the presentation. The floor is yours.
As you mentioned, we did a biannual audit of Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success. I will cover our objectives, scope, and methodologies. The program we looked at was the MOCFS Rental Assistance, specifically Eviction Prevention Program. I'll go over our findings and any prior year findings, and then answer any questions. So our scope was to evaluate the effectiveness of the rental assistance, specifically Eviction Prevention Program, and then we covered fiscal years 22 and 21. Our audit methodology, we reviewed federal and state grant guidelines, we looked at rules and regulations, and we looked at the MOCFS standards for operating procedures. We interviewed key individuals to obtain an understanding of their application and review process, the disbursement process, the reconciliation process. And then we judgmentally selected samples and performed testing of relevant controls. Next slide. The Rental Assistance Program in fiscal year 2021, MOCFS launched the Eviction Prevention Program in direct response to the impacts of COVID. The program has administered approximately $85 million from the following three grants: the Corona Relief Fund of $10 million, Emergency Rental Assistance Program for $70 million, and Community Development Block Grants for $5 million. MOCFS has approved over 2,000 applications in fiscal year 21 and over 6,000 applications in 2022. Next slide. We do not have any findings and recommendations during our audit procedures. We did, however, issue a confidential management comment letter to appropriate personnel to communicate confidential and sensitive information. We did not have any prior findings, as this was the first time we audited the program. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Are there any questions or concerns? I think that, Dr. Brooks, if you, would you like to speak on behalf of the agency? There's not often when our auditor stands before us with blank slides. When we talk about that level of interaction with the community for a really important service, you know, that coming out of coronavirus, housing security was a major issue. The administration stepped up in a big way. And I think close to 9,000, over 9,000, maybe close to 10,000 folks, you know, the agency, the administration was able to delicately deal with without any findings from our amazing auditor. So I wanted to provide you the opportunity to say whatever you want to say today to the board.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Comptroller, other committee members. I would just like to thank the administration. I'd like to thank the amazing team at the Baltimore City Community Action Partnership for the great work. We did help over 13,000 residents. We continue to support the residents because we know this continues to be a concern. With supporting around the eviction prevention program, we are continuing to dedicate our resources and time to continue to support the constituents. This is great work, and we continue to do this great work.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brooks. Mr. Mayor?
No, I just want to say thank you to Dr. Brooks and the entire team at MLCFS, not just for having a spick and span clean audit, which we never see, but for really administering $85 million of funds from federal, state, and local to our most vulnerable residents and neighbors here in Baltimore, touching 13,000 people and able to help them as they dealt with the impacts of the pandemic and how it directly impacted their families. So every single one of those applications approved and every single person touched by the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success did that in a life-changing and life-saving situation. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brooks. Any questions or concerns from members of the board? Hearing and seeing none, thank you so much. This report will be noted. Thank you, Mr. Auditor. We're going to move on to the Law Department. The next item on non-routine agenda can be found on page 152, SB 2313664, Law Department. This request is to approve an agreement and release with Mr. Charles Cunningham regarding a false arrest and false imprisonment lawsuit against Baltimore City Police Officer Ethan Newberg. On behalf of the Law Department, we have
Matthew Bradford, Chief of Staff of the Law Department.
Mr. Bradford. Up the button. Yep, there we go. We got it.
All right, we're all set?
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Well, Mr. Council President, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Comptroller, and members of the board, this request for settlement approval is one of two related to former BPD Sergeant Ethan Newberg. The allegations related to this settlement is as follows. On April 29, 2019, BPD Sergeant Ethan Newberg and other unidentified officers were committing an arrest. Around the same time, claimant Charles Cunningham walked by the scene and asked if the arrestee needed medical attention. Sergeant Newberg was presumably irritated by this question, and he demanded that officers at the scene arrest Cunningham. Cunningham was arrested, searched, and detained. He was then transported to the Southwestern District and placed in a holding cell. He was eventually released after a coerced apology, and Sergeant Newberg filed no charges against him. And this incident was one of two that we're here to discuss today that was captured by body-worn camera footage. Cunningham later filed federal claims against BPD and Sergeant Newberg. And after the claim was filed, Sergeant Newberg pleaded guilty to a criminal charge and is no longer with the police department. Given the circumstances and significant risks associated with this claim, the Law Department recommends settlement of this matter for $287,500. $287,500. I cannot get it right. Give me one more chance. $287,500. Thank you. Any questions?
That concludes. So this board always asks, does the former officer Newberg still have access to his pension?
Yes. He does. He resigned in lieu of termination, and he had did his 25 years of service. So per the labor agreement, he was still entitled to his pension.
So the money that the citizens of Baltimore have to pay out to Mr. Kunikin does not come from him, but comes from the city coffers, right?
Correct.
It seems like a large settlement for an arrest. I guess the the details associated with and the motivation behind and the issues related to were just so egregious that the city found best to settle this way as opposed to going through federal court.
That's correct, Mr. President.
Are there any additional questions or concerns from other members of the body? Mr. Comptroller?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just checking my memory. The $400,000 cap, that's for at state level. In federal court, there is no cap on damages, right?
That's correct, depending
Okay.
on how the claim is brought.
Right,
If
okay.
it's brought under the Local Government Tort Claims Act, it's capped at $400,000.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well, was this one?
No,
Okay, so this one,
Was-
our liability could have been substantially higher.
correct.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to note, and I know that I'm not speaking alone, but we really need support in Annapolis. We'll continue to fight. As a delegate, I fought for it. I'll continue to fight for it as the council president, that the city should not pay for the actions, wrongdoings, when folks maim, hurt, harm our community, when they're quote-unquote providing services to protect us. And this has been something that has been ongoing. We've talked about it every single year. We see these type of settlements. This takes away from services. This takes away from recs and parks. This takes away from us incrementally moving our city in the right direction. And many times it's uncalled for. It's unclear why certain actions take place, and just us paying and paying and paying is not really getting to the root of the issue of solving some of these issues. So thank you so much at this time. At this time, I'll call for a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. Next up on our non-routine agenda can be found again on page 153, SB 2313485, Law Department. The request is to approve another agreement and release by a person by the name of Mr. Lee Dotson regarding the same officer for false arrest and false imprisonment. At this time in the Law Department, we have
Matthew Bradford, Chief of Staff for the Law Department. This request for settlement approval is the second related to former BPD Sergeant Ethan Newberg. The allegations concerning this settlement are as follows. On May 30th, 2019, claimant Lee Dotson walked by and observed an arrest. Dotson asked police why the arrestee was sitting on the wet ground. Sergeant Newberg told him to mind his business, and Mr. Dotson began to walk away. Sergeant Newberg pursued Dotson, and a physical altercation ensued. When Mr. Dotson broke free, he was forcibly taken to the ground and placed in handcuffs. He was detained, arrested, held overnight, and released on bond the following day, and body-worn camera also captured this incident. The Office of the State's Attorney later now prossed the criminal charges against Dotson, and Dotson filed a federal claim later against BPD and BPD personnel. Again, after the claim was filed, Sergeant Newberg pleaded guilty to a criminal charge and is not with the department any longer. But given the risks and given the circumstances and significant risks, the Law Department recommends settlement of this matter for $287,500. I told myself I was not going to do that again.
we appreciate that. Again, this is in the same lane and posture that we just talked about the other case. The only one question is, I think you didn't say it this time, but before you said other unidentified officers. Obviously, are there any actions from the department associated with the officers that allowed Mr. Newberg to, participate in these activities?
Well, there's a current ongoing investigation related to these incidents. One of the officers involved in this also had a claim filed against him, and there's an open investigation with regard to his role. As far as the other officers, I'm unaware if BPD was able to identify them later. But I do know that there is an active investigation by BPD related to these incidents.
Okay, can you circle back with BPD to, figure out if they are able to identify the other officers that were on the scene?
Yes.
Thank you so much. At this time, are there any additional questions or concerns from members of this body? Mr. Comptroller?
Thank you, Mr. President. When was the second incident?
It was in May of 2019, which was a month after the
Right,
previous
okay.
incident.
And so there is still an open investigation for one of the other officers involved in one or both of these?
Correct, and part of that had to do with the fact that there was a criminal proceeding that was going on with regard to Sergeant Newberg.
Okay, but now that the criminal proceeding with Sergeant Newberg is concluded, I guess, let me come out to, so the other officer that's under investigation is still their current officer, and they are serving on active duty?
I don't know the answer to that. I believe that they are not currently serving and that there's an active investigation into what the ultimate outcome will be, but I would have to get back to you from
Okay,
BPD. But
yeah, I would appreciate knowing the status of the officer that's under investigation. Okay. All right, thank you.
Any additional questions or concerns? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Mr. Chief of Staff. Next item on non-routine can be found on pages 198 and 199, SB 2312-901, Parking Authority. The request is to approve construction contract with Contracting Specialist, DC LLC. On behalf of the Parking Authority, we have
Elijah Jackson, Construction Project Manager. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jackson. We also have in the room,
Pete Little, Executive Director with the Parking Authority.
David Rhodes, General Counsel, Parking
I
Authority.
was really impressed
Thank
that you
you.
threw your voice like that. I was like, you know.
so you could begin the presentation.
Yep, just a summary. A repair was done to the expansion joint of the Penn Station Plaza that is up above the Penn Station Garage, which we manage on behalf of the city. This repair was necessary and an emergency because it created a dangerous situation where somebody could get their foot caught in that gap that was left and injure themselves. So we requested of the Director of Finance for an emergency repair, which he granted. The work commenced on this in January of this year, and it concluded last month.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Any? No?
Questions only.
Okay, and Ms. Naja, anything to add?
That was the synopsis of what happened. Henry Raymond, Director of Finance, approved the agreement March 18th of 2022. He approved it in the amount of $551,018. However, the project only cost us $525,710.64. And we're asking for the approval of the work that was done, as it was our first emergency procurement, and they did a really great job mitigating the public safety concern. It was severely deteriorated, and in some places the expansion joint was missing. So we had to put plates on it and go through a whole lot of precautions to try to restore public safety.
Thank you so much for the additional detail. At this time, are there any questions or concerns from members of the board? Mr. Comptroller, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not a question, and only partially a concern. I did want to say to the Parking Authority, I am grateful for the fact that they jumped on this issue as soon as they became aware of it. Speaking on behalf of a board that receives numerous settlements from the law department about people who have injured themselves dealing with problems with our infrastructure that were not dealt with in a timely fashion, I am glad that you were able to avoid us falling into literally that type of situation in this case. But I did want to take the opportunity to call the board's attention to the fact that this is an example of how an emergency procurement allows, in this case, $500,000 worth of spending, even for a good cause. Nobody is questioning that this work didn't need to be done. But this was approved in March of last year. And over a year and a half later is when the board is aware of your fine work. And so this was just an opportunity to make the point that, to the best of our knowledge, there have been tens of millions of dollars spent through emergency procurements. And I am not questioning that that money needed to be spent, but the board has a responsibility to make sure that people know how and when their money is being spent. And so I hope we will take that issue up as quickly as possible. But thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Comptroller. Are there any additional questions or concerns for the Parking Authority? Hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
We technically we're just noting it. Because it's been approved.
Correct.
Yeah,
That's just being noted.
okay. Well, this will be noted. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item on routine can be found on pages 226, SB 2313169, procurement for Mayor's Office of Employment Development. This request is to approve a service contract with Unite Us platform. On behalf of the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, we have.
Good morning, members of the board. This is Mackenzie Garvin. I am the director of the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, and my colleagues are here as well. I'll allow them to introduce themselves.
Hello, Julie Torsha with MOED Senior ARPA Project.
Shall I begin?
Yes, I'm sorry. The floor is yours.
Yes. For background, Unite Us is a network referral software that works to connect organizations to meet the residents' needs. The purpose of the software is to address the social determinants of health and to provide longitudinal social care journey that is tracked and visible by the entire network. In this case, the Unite Us platform was offered to MOED free. It was offered with a partnership between Kaiser Permanente and Unite Us to all local governments, to nonprofit agencies, and community organizations. After we used the software for free for a period of time, we made the decision that we wanted to procure additional licenses because of the success of using the platform. We believed that we were following the correct procurement process in order to pay for these licenses due to an ARPA award that was approved in November of 2021. We went through a process with the procurement office, some back and forth, where it was determined that we were not following the correct process. Subsequent to that, we began following the correct process, which included receiving a sole source letter from Unite Us and following the process with the law department, which leads us here today. We believe that this contract should be approved, as this is the only care coordination network that is available. There are partners from all over the city, including Maryland United Healthcare, Keys Empowerment, Restoring Destiny, Urban Strategies, Bon Secours, and it also includes other jurisdictions, Anne Arundel County, Frederick County, Montgomery County, and Prince George's County. So there is no other referral network that functions in this way. And so we're asking the board today to approve this contract.
Thank you, Madam Director. And you listed a couple. I know that you told me that there are dozens. So all of those different entities that you work and provide services, some wrap around, not even just related to employment development. All of those individual organizations also are on this platform, and that's why you're able to directly connect and deal with them. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yes, there are over,
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you.
There are over 175 different services that our customers can receive through this platform. The previous way that we would work within the care coordination system in order to refer people was by telephone calls or emails, and this created a lot of opportunity for customers to get lost along the way. We know when customers come to us for workforce services needs that they may have other needs, and this network allows us to be able to track the end-to-end care of our shared customers within care coordination. Right now, there are over 500 different providers on this network.
And there's no other platform, there's no other software that would allow you the opportunity of doing that. If you didn't have access to this software, you would be in the dark, per se, as it relates to the interaction between those organizations. And like you communicated to us, you have to pick up the phone, send emails, but this is a platform that instantly connects you to the 100+ organizations that you spoke about, correct?
Yes, this is true.
And I assume that is the reasoning that this is a sole source, because from your expert knowledge, they're the only game in town that will allow you to do that. Is that accurate?
This is accurate, and it's actually, it's a cost savings to the city in the sense that we are only procuring licenses to be a part of the network. If hypothetically there was some sort of other entity that could do the same sort of technology, we would have to procure the technology. In addition, it's not just about the technology, it's who is on the network. So this is the only resource that is available to be able to do this kind of network connection.
Thank you, Madam Director. At this time, are there any additional questions or concerns from members of the board? Hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. Thank you so much, Madam Director.
Thank you.
The next item on non-routine agenda can be found on pages 252 and 253, SB 2313385, Department of Public Works. This request is to approve a construction contract award with Monumental Excavation regarding the Old Goucher water main replacement. On behalf of DPW, we have.
Mr. President, that one is moved to the routine agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We move that to the routine agenda. I believe that's all our items, Madam Clerk?
We have one additional item, and that was the number that you don't see on your sheet that I read because I had to read the correction real time.
Madam Clerk, if you could read that into record for me.
That was SB 2312636. This is an item from Mayor's Office of Children and Family Services, and it's a transfer of funds to the Baltimore Civic Fund.
Oh.
It was moved to, it was on the non-routine. You voted, we noted the no votes for.
I didn't hear the emergency procurement or the resolution deferred, was it?
We read it into
Okay,
the
we did read it into
deferrals
the deferral, okay.
because
Okay.
Madam CAO requested it just before the meeting.
Yeah.
Did we have to take a separate vote, or the opening statement vote counts?
Opening statement.
Okay.
Votes count, yeah. Madam Clerk, but we still have this one item left, correct?
Yes, I believe Madam CAO indicated that MOCFS does have an agreement that accompanies this transfer, and that they would just reference that for the board this morning.
Say it again.
Is that correct?
We're going to have Dr. Brooks and team come up.
Good morning again.
Good to see you again.
Good morning. Chris Quinton, Chief of Staff, MOCFS.
So this is funds that we use to be able to support our youth, our back to school, our voter registration within our high schools. And so we're going to locate the agreement so that we can share that with you. We're working with Baltimore Civic Fund so that we could obtain that agreement and give that to you.
Ms. Comptroller?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to give a little bit of backstory, we've been working with the administration on an issue where for years the city has moved money over to the Baltimore Civic Fund with sub-grant agreements each time, detailing how the money is supposed to be spent. This made it easier for audits to ensure that the money was trackable. And then in the last year, for some reason, several agencies stopped sending agreements with these items to the board, and they started being treated as transfers, as if the Baltimore Civic Fund were just another agency inside city government, when in fact it is, technically and legally an outside entity. And so we've been working with the administration to figure out how to get back into the habit of sending agreements with each item. And so we had worked with Simone Johnson in the CAO's office, and she was working with the law department and trying to find out how we were going to do this. And what we thought we had agreed to was we were going to hold off on these until that was resolved. But because of the urgent need to take care of our kids, we're dealing with this one today, and we're going to let them get us the agreement after the fact.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was just gonna add that this one, as you know, Mr. President and Mr. Comptroller, of the utmost importance because it's around our young people and youth violence. So we want to make sure that we get that out very quickly. We know as long as the funds are being transferred to the Civic Fund into a fund that has dollars for philanthropy, that is also a very legal transfer, and we will be making sure that we get the agreements back on track from the agencies.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Comptroller. Dr. Brooks, anything else to add?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
With that, I'll motion for approval.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. President, members of the board, I think it's important for us to note that in the routine agenda today, we approved the capital MOU for the new Parkview Recreation Center and Park Complex in West Baltimore, where we will be demolishing a vacant school, Westside Elementary, and building a new state-of-the-art recreation center right in the heart of West Baltimore on Fulton Avenue. So thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Comptroller, for your support.
Mr. Mayor, you couldn't pick a better location. Residents of West Baltimore will be really excited. As a council member serving that district, I would always call that a recreational desert. And we understand and know the amount of young folks in that area. We understand and know the need in that area. And again, I don't think you could have picked a better location to do what I would call hopefully a super rec center there.
16,000 gross square feet.
16,000 gross square feet. The kids of West Baltimore will be excited. With that, there's no new business before the board. We'll adjourn. Before that, if I could take a moment of privilege and invite everyone to attend the virtual town hall from the City Council regarding the mayor's proposed redistricting map. It's going to take place tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. It's going to be a virtual. So look for everything on social media as well as email blasts to try to get the word out. We want residents to participate in the process. Appreciate the mayor's acknowledgement of the council's urgency to kind of get it done, but ensuring that we have, full autonomy to kind of control the legislative process. There's a 60-day clock that's built in the charter that requires us to take action, and in working with the mayor and the administration, we are in the right posture to do that. So it'll be one this Thursday. I believe we're scheduling the next one for next Tuesday. We want all members of the community and organizations to chime in and let us know and let your voices be heard. With that, the next meeting of the Board of Estimates will occur on Wednesday, October the 18th at 9 a.m. Baltimore, we love you.
Estimates bid opening for October 4th, 2023. This afternoon, I have one addenda to share from the Bureau of Procurement, RFQ 000395. Flow Flex COVID-19 Antigen Home Test Kits. This item was originally scheduled to be open today and will now be opened on October 18th 2023. We have 3 bids we're opening today, and the first up, I believe, is Bureau of Procurement, RFQ 400, OEM Parts and Service for John Deere equipment.
Okay,
Up first,
so up first we have Atlantic Tractor LLC.
and are these lump sums? Yes?
Yes, there is.
Or are they itemized?
There's a total.
There's a total.
Okay, cool. So we are reading a total for this one.
Yes. So the total for Atlantic Tractor LLC is 101,125.
That number was 101,125.00,
That is correct.
and Audrey says yes.
Yep.
And that was for Atlantic Tractor LLC, $101,125. Up next,
Up next, we have Jesco Incorporated.
that's JESCO, yes?
Yes, that's correct. The total amount is 335,000.
That was 335,000.00?
35,000.
335.
No, just 35.
355.
No, just 35.
35?
Sorry, 35,000.
Okay, 35.
Apologies.
I am hearing impaired today, sorry. That was 35,000.00.
That is
Now
correct.
you'll know why we read these back and forth. Jesco Incorporated, $35,000.
Yes.
Yes.
This is-
And I believe we have one more.
Yes, that is Tech Equipment Repair. And that total is 64,625.
That was 64,625.00.
Yes.
So that final bid was from Tech Equipment Repair for $64,625. Was that all good, Aud?
Yes, but I think for some reason this could have been an item because these are just ABC. These are ABCD.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we will let the audience know who's following along that we've shared totals that are on the bid sheets, but there
Okay.
are usually itemized
Right.
bids of those bids anyway, and all of these get referred to the agency, in this case, the Bureau of Procurement, for a thorough review of the information received. So those 3 bidders, again, for RFQ 400 were Atlantic Tractor LLC? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Sounds funny. Okay. Jesco Incorporated and Tech Equipment Repair. Oh,
LLC.
I was thinking of the addenda and thinking, why did that company bid on it? I have a different bid in my head. Again, that was Atlantic Tractor, Jesco, and Tech Equipment Repair for RFQ 400, OEM Parts and Service for John Deere equipment, which makes total sense. Okay. Up next, we have a bid for the Department of Transportation, Contract TR 23015, Urgent Need Contract Citywide. Looks like it has something to do with paving.
Up first, we have M. Lewis Construction Company Incorporated.
You have M. Lewis. I have P. Flanagan. Okay, hold on. I have P. Flanagan.
I believe we have both. You probably just got,
Well, she's reading something different.
Yeah.
Okay. No worries. See, I have P. Flanagan. So where's M. Louise? Do they have a copy? Maybe not. Because this is P. Flanagan's one.
yeah, I have that one second.
You have any more documents?
Just one copy.
It's just the one.
Okay, maybe they didn't have to do, okay.
Okay, so Abigail, you read the original, and then Audrey can confirm when you hand her the original, since we only have the one.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead.
So, sorry. This total for this one is 1,514,528.00.
That number was 1,514,528.00.
That is correct.
Did these have
Bid
bid bonds?
bonds, they should be. Should be a bid bond.
Yes, it
Thank
does.
you. And then if you hand to Audrey, she'll just verify the number a second time, as we like to do.
Oh, okay.
that's their
this is-
copy.
Okay,
Okay.
no worries, okay. Got it. The bid bond side. Ooh, I took the price sheet, this thing off. It should be right here. Okay, 1,282,603.29.
I had 1,000,005.
Okay, let's see what's going on
That's
there.
M. Louise, right?
This doesn't have a name. Let's see what we have here. This is M. Louise. This is M. Louise.
Well, then I would go by the original if this
So let's go
copy
back.
is not matching up.
What is that right there? That's P flat? That's what I need to read. Well, wait, which one are we reading? M. Louise?
We're reading M. Louise.
Okay, so then that's what I read here. So there's a mix up here, let's see. Okay, M. Louise. Let's read the amount right here. $1,282,603.29.
The original's a different total,
Oh,
I believe.
Oh, no worries, no worries, hold on. Okay. Let me go, I wanna go to the amount.
Yeah.
Because that seems to, yeah. $1,282,603.29. That's M. Louise.
Okay. Can you give me that number again?
Sure, $1,282,603.29.
Okay, that bid was for M. Louise Construction. We've confirmed on original and copy that the bid number is 1,282,603.29. So it's M. Louise, $1,282,603.29.
Yes,
Okay.
perfect. Okay, that's this. Okay, now give Abigail that one. Okay, now,
That's P. Flanagan.
yes,
Okay.
and that's what I have now. Now we're good.
So this one is for P. Flanagan and Sons Incorporated. So that total is 1,514,528.00.
Okay, that number was 1,514,528.00.
That is correct.
So that bid was for P. Flanagan and Sons, $1,514,528. And yes, they have a bid bond?
Yes, they do.
Okay, that was two of two bidders for TR 23015, Urgent Need Contracts Citywide, M. Louise Construction, and P. Flanagan and Sons.
Yep.
These bids, of course, will be referred to the agency for detailed review, and just as a reminder to our audience, we post our bid results by close of business today, and usually quite sooner. So you can see the numbers we've posted there on the comptroller's website, right, Case?
Right.
Thank you.
Got one more.
Yep, I know.
Go.
Department of Public Works, contract WC 1354. This is for Ashburton Wash Water Lake dredging.
So we have the Whiting Turner Contracting Company. That total is 562,000.00.
That's incorrect.
Audrey's seen a different
Use page
number.
can you go to page 72? 72, keep going, yeah. 72.
Yeah, that might have been one of the, it's probably subtotals.
Wait a minute. Okay, that's the total.
No?
72, 8 million. You see it?
Okay, so we'll have to strike that. The total is 8,638,000.00.
Okay, we, striking the original number, the total for the Whiting Turner Contracting Company is $8,638,000.00.
That is correct.
And was that our only bid for this contract?
And it has a bid bond.
Yes, it
Oh, thank
was.
you. Thanks, Aud.
Yeah, bid bond.
So that was our only bidder for WC 1354 Ashburton Wash Water Lake Dredging. That was the Whiting Turner Contracting Company for $8,638,000.
Yes.
And I believe that is the last bid we are opening for today.
That's it.
Our
Okay, thanks.
next bid opening is on October 18th?
Yes.
Yep, our next bid opening is October 18th at 12 noon. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks, TV 25.
Okay, thank you.
Wow, I actually am going to almost be on time for